Hi everyone. In this video, we are going to talk about Goethe's Faust. Specifically, I'm focusing on mostly Faustian Legend, but I'm going to give you a little bit of background information on Goethe and the text itself. With Goethe, unlike many other authors you would read in either a course of mine, if you're a student of mine, or any literature course for that matter, Goethe was a celebrity author in his own time and from a fairly young age, from 25 on. I make a point to address this because most of the time you don't realize that the major authors you study in a sort of general survey literature course they lived destitute lives sometimes. As I'm recording this, it's almost Halloween, and let's say like something like Mary Shelley's Frankenstein comes to mind. You can see how widespread that concept, that idea, that story, that narrative, this mad scientist making another man, which we consider a monster, um, that concept of Frankenstein is very widespread in popular culture. But when Mary Shelley wrote it, she was very young. It was frowned upon for a young woman to write something of that nature at that time in the early 1800s. Um, she and her husband Percy Shelley, they were basically kind of like social pariahs because of his religious views, and then also her parents had very outstanding radical views for the time. So you just don't always see it that way. That these major writers you study didn't always have it so easy. They weren't always like being popular and widely read. He was such a celebrity. There's this like little anecdote that allegedly Napoleon read Goethe's first novel numerous times over and over. So Goethe also wrote things about science and aesthetics. Specifically, if you've ever studied art, he wrote a lot about color theory. So the way that we take in images, so you could apply this to not just things like visual art, but also in digital media or things like marketing and advertising, the way that these certain color combinations appeal to each other. Um, In Faustian Legend, this is the main thing I want to point to in this video. We get that term from an actual historic figure, Johann Faust. Um, he was a sort of celebrity alchemist and astrologer in his time. He would be booked to come do sort of I don't, you would say in a general term, maybe fortune telling sorts of performances, but people didn't believe these were just performances. They were assumed to be real, right? And because he garnered this fame and wealth from that during his lifetime, and he ends up having this really bizarre death in the end, where because of a sort of alchemy experiment, and remember that's kind of like conspiracy theory chemistry, basically. Because of an alchemy experiment gone wrong, there's this explosion, and it's just like his body parts were reportedly laying all over the street from this. Because it was this violent end, it kind of like sealed the narrative, of the rumor people had kind of generated that he had sold his soul to the devil. So you know that as maybe more of the phrase a bargain with the devil, assigning your soul, selling your soul to the devil, all of those variations of that phrase. That is what Faustian legend is. We have that in Western media frequently. I list an example here with the TV show The Simpsons, but really, many popular television series, at some point, if they run for a long time and they have a special Halloween episode or some kind of scary, quote unquote, scary episode, they utilize the Faustian legend motif at some point. Also, an actual horror film, The Witch, I list that as an example too. That's very quite literally, like in the end, she sells her soul to the devil, right? So that's very literally the Faustian legend. You don't go on to see what she gains from it. Usually, these stories are about seeing how frivolous the character is with that deal. So, before Goethe's Faust, you also had a very popular play called Dr. Faustus, so that's the Latin version of that name, written by Christopher Marlowe, and who was a contemporary of Shakespeare's. And you see there as well how frivolous he is after he sells his soul to the devil. He just uses it for totally useless, stupid stuff. He has all this power and could have asked for any abundance of wants and desires, and he just does totally stupid stunts with it. Um, and then, then he's going to spend all eternity in hell is, the consequence. So we have something like this even much further back. So if you're a student of mine and you're watching this, it's probably because you're in my European literature course. We start in the ancient world with a lot of ancient Greek literature and mythology, and pointing all the way back to that. Your variation of this is the overreacher, and you have a reference to this in most Faustian legend material, most Faustian type literature that talks about Icarus. And I have your explanation there on this bullet point about he overreaches by flying too close to the sun with these wings made out of feather and wax. So, as you can imagine, the wax melts as he gets higher up, closer to the sun, and so then he falls in the ocean and dies. It's always some kind of dark, violent, twisted ending for the person who does this. And so you can see, in that sense, it's also meant to be a sort of morality tale, a sort of lesson of the story. Like, see what happens when you sell your soul to the devil? It doesn't end out well. It doesn't turn out well. Um, another thing I want to say about the use of Faustian legend in popular culture and Western media is we have these sort of things that are like it that have kind of evolved. They've been kind of appropriated. So all those Illuminati conspiracy theories you see on the internet, those are kind of derivatives of Faustian legend. And another more popular one that's been around for a few decades, the 27 Club. So your celebrities who died at 27 specifically. So like Kurt Cobain, Amy Winehouse, um, and then some people also stack in other celebrities who weren't exactly 27, but they died young, and it's assumed that all that quick wealth and success, there's some dark side to it. Not necessarily literally selling one's soul to the devil to gain that, but the fast track life is that you live fast and die young. It's the consequences of addiction and drug abuse. So the last bit here, to give you a little background of the text itself. Um, Faust, you see when you read it, it's written like a play, but it's actually a closet drama. So you might have performances, and let's say something that's like it is there's an opera adaptation of this, which is super, super long if you look up the background of that. Um, it's actually a closet drama, this play that we're reading, Faust, which means it's written like a play, and you might envision it like you are reading a play, but it's not meant to actually be performed. There are a few things written over time that are like that. It might seem kind of pointless, but to write a play as opposed to a piece of fiction, a novel, a long poem, whatever, where you would be, as the writer, putting in all these extra details outside of stage directions, where you have a narrator telling you exactly what's happening and everything. That's a really different reading experience than a closet drama. Um, and it's also interesting when you think of what I just said in the biography, the biographical background of Goethe, that He was so famous beginning at 25 that probably influenced his kind of nitpicking of this text over the years. This does happen where you have first edition, second edition, third edition, sometimes with text. Yes, it's not a totally abnormal thing, but for a celebrity author to keep revisiting it, like they feel like as if they just can't get it right. You see that happening with what Goethe did with Faust. So that is all I have for you in this background information video. Thank you for watching.